Hello again, everyone. Today I wanted to do a flip through of this sketchbook that I have here. I originally was using this sketchbook as a sort of a mixed media notebook for a class called Soulful Abstracts by Lally Mill online. It was a great class. It is a great class. I highly recommend it. I'm going to put a link down to her website below just because it's so amazing. It was very inspiring, and it led to a bunch of other projects outside the class as well. So this is the notebook that she recommends using, and now I'm totally blanking on the name of it, but I will put a link down below. I got mine off of Amazon. It is not watercolor friendly, but it is friendly to most mixed media art supplies. I use mostly acrylic in here, and I'm also using a lot of the pages in here as sort of mood board pages, which is also what I wanted to show you. So, and I don't think that it will ruin anything in the class for me to show you this. So it comes with this little elastic, which I tried to make blend into the cover, but of course when you open it, it'll do that. And this was just sort of some playing here on the front cover with some inks and possibly acrylics. I can't even remember what I used. And what's also nice about this notebook is that it has this little folio here, so you can put scraps or collage materials or whatever there. I think I'm gonna, yeah, I can get the whole thing in the frame. And so these were actually pictures of, this was sort of my mood board for the class. I just put a picture of the moon in the middle. And then this is a picture of my little inspiration board that I made out of an old frame. And then I have just little lines across, and I clip all kinds of inspirational materials on here. A lot of these images were found on Pinterest and things like that. And so this originally was some mark making play, and then I went back and added to it. And it's certainly not done. I plan to go back and work on these. A lot of the pages in here are sort of works in progress. So like this. And part of this was testing different art supplies as well. And so then I went back in and sort of did more and more layers on top of here. Like this was testing instant coffee in water, and also some India ink in water. It creates these really cool textures. This is obviously a big mess. What I could do is come back and incorporate both of these pages into one spread, sort of like an art journal spread. But for now, I mean, this was just really to test some supplies. And again, this was me using some leftover paint that I had, and I do this a lot. When I'm working on a different project, I will just put paint on a particular page, and then maybe I'll go back and add to it. And sometimes I won't. Sometimes it'll last a while. And this was all some color mixing that I did in the class. This was mostly the primary colors mixed with white. I don't think I mixed with dark. No. So and there were actually some more on this page, but I've covered them since then. And then this was an exploration of some of my favorite colors and colors that I like to use. And then this was using up some of the paint that I used to mix the colors on the previous page. And this is probably one that I will add to later. And so this was an inspiration image that I used for color, and you can't really see these, and these are actually works in progress. These were little abstracts that I did in a series using this color scheme, and I took a picture of it, and that's what's there. And in the course, she covers, you know, what shapes you like and don't like, and I'm not even sure that this is accurate anymore. I think I would probably swap these two now, because I do tend to use squares a little bit more, but I'm still not a big fan of the spiral at all. Okay, and then this was all about mark making. So this is a picture of some of my works that I did in the mark making piece, and then this is several pages of different marks that I made with various tools, and we used tools that were unconventional. Bubble wrap, although bubble wrap is pretty common for using as mark making. And this was a catalyst tool, and then we have other numbers of catalyst tools. And then this was string, a rubber band wrapped around a fork. And then I just used acrylic ink to make these marks. This was a scraper. This was a lid for something, a mini cup. This was like a clay brush that was really, really hard. It really had hard bristles. And this says grid stamp, but I think this was actually a stamp that I made with my nephew out of clay. So I think it actually it didn't retain the texture after doing this, I don't think. And this was a leaf. And then we have a sticky tie, paper clips. I used anything I could find. This is a little mini roller. It's pretty big here. This was things I could get from a button. This was a key ring, a Q-tip, a wood puzzle piece. I think that was kind of stretching it a little bit, although I thought that these were kind of interesting down here. This is made with a marble, and I actually thought the marble would be the most interesting, and it wasn't. It was actually kind of boring because it was really hard to get the ink off of the marble. This is a drywall anchor, which actually turned out to be way more interesting than I thought. Another clay tool. And then here I had some cardboard, just a fork by itself, a wine cork. This was an appliance pad that I had. It soaked up all the ink basically, but created this texture. This was a pumpkin scoop around Halloween. This was a skewer. This was a toilet paper roll, which I actually thought was kind of cool. These were made with a straw. And then I had sticks and moss, weeds, flowers, grasses. So this was just like runs the gamut of all different kinds of marks that I could make. And this was a page where I was doing some testing of art materials, and then I went back and added a couple of different layers, and I'm not done with it yet. So this is going to have probably more layers on top. And same with this one. I was just using this as a page marker. This was a page that I used to test adding some collage materials and gesso to the page, and then I added a few more collage materials later, and again I probably will work off of this. And this was all a lesson on creating texture, which was really, really fun, and it gave me some really great ideas on how to create texture with different materials. And this one was even more interesting. I mean, I have not added to these just because I am so into the texture itself, and I kind of want to leave it as examples. So this one is mostly gesso and acrylic ink, and I'm not going to go into the process because I would highly recommend watching some of Lally Mill's videos. She has some that she offers for free. This class, the Soulful Abstracts class, is quite pricey, but I think it's completely worth it. You get a ton of content, and you can pay in installments, which is what I did to take the class. And then this was all a lesson about different compositional styles that you can pick. And then this was just something that I did later, sort of a free-form abstract. I added some collage materials, but this was mostly paint. And this side is pretty much finished, and this one, I'm not sure if I'll go back in and work on this side or if I kind of like it unfinished. And then this one I've shown on the channel before. This is a completed collage with various acrylics and various art materials and collage. I'll actually put a link down below to the video where I talked about this collage and the processes that I followed for it. And this is another page that is sort of an initial collage setup, so I might move off from here. This is the same, but I've been hesitant to add to this page because I kind of like the composition as it is. This was from a jelly plate print that I made with a feather with copper ink, and it was lots of fun. And then this was just sort of distressing paper. And then here we get into some more of my mood boards. And again, you know, this is really a Lally Mill idea. She had I forget when it was before the end of the year in 2020, she had a little free workshop that went over several days, which was really great because it just happened to coincide when I was taking vacation, so I was really able to immerse myself in it. But she suggested to do these collage pages which can either be, you know, color inspiration, texture inspiration. And this one I've actually taken and used in works that I did already, and a little bit from here, but I've left some to kind of have the color story there. But I made some little pieces that I framed and put on my wall, actually, out of that class. And okay, so this is another page where I was just using up materials that I was using in another painting. And then here we have some more inspirational pages. These are so nice because I've just been using collage pages, distressed papers. These are little watercolor swatches that I actually made as part of a different course, not with Lally Mill, but someone else. And magazine pages and stuff like that. So it's really kind of fun to develop a color story and sort of a texture story and then go in and use those later. So, and then here I've kind of put all of these different little combinations of color that I came up with for watercolor. And this was sort of to do watercolor abstracts and use maybe one of these, select one of these at a time and use that as the color story. And then this was just, I liked these so much. This was actually, this might have been one that I did on the channel, but I can't remember. This is sort of like with little blobs of watercolor and letting them flow into each other in these little circles. And I kind of like the look of just cutting them up and putting them in the page this way. But this would be, for me, it would be inspiration for a color story, for either an abstract piece or something else that I would work on. And same goes for here. This was just sort of playing around with different colors to see how colors mix. And then this was mixing some more colors. Here, this was a little swatch of a palette I made. These are different greens, so they were all kind of fun. And this I thought was kind of fun. It's a lot of my different palette swatches because I change stuff around so much, and if it changes enough, I will do a new swatch sheet. And or if I move things around to a different setup or whatever, I put them in I just was putting them in a little box where I was putting all of my collage materials, and I just thought it would be fun to add them all to a page. And then this was sort of the beginnings of either a sort of an abstract thing or texture and color story, which I had just begun there. And then here's some more of these watercolor swatches. So this is essentially like, you know, playtime, inspiration time. There's only a couple of completed pieces in here, but it's really mostly a reference sketchbook, I would say. And one of the assignments in this Soulful Abstract class was to decorate the front of your sketchbook, and this is just what I came up with. And it basically was just playing around with collage materials and paint. And the other side is completely blank. I actually think I like this better because it's a little bit more focused, I would say. And I really like the color story that's going on here, and I really kind of like the grunginess of this. But again, this was just sort of play, and I probably should take more notes in this book than I do, but so then I can know what all the methods are. But generally, I remember, and the things that I forget, you know, maybe they weren't worth remembering. All right. Well, that's all I had for you today. I hope you found that useful. And again, this wasn't really supposed to be finished pieces in an art journal. This is more inspirational material and reference material. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Feel free to subscribe to keep track of future videos on my channel. And I hope to see you next time. But in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.